shot put, I'm doing shot put with a softball. One, I think that it provides good practice for your athletes. So you're first starting to get them involved in shot put. Now, I guess the difficult aspect about that is if I use a softball to practice shot put with, you're going to find that your athletes are going to try to throw it like a softball, okay? But at least when you're first starting them to the technique, because safety obviously is something we emphasize, this may be a good place to start, okay? So, shot put, as Justin said earlier, I feel like all the events that I've volunteered at and helped at, the number of shot putters is always a little bit, it's lower. And I think it's one because it is one of the more strange events that you would have to have some type of knowledge about in order to coach it up. But then two, I think it's kind of scary as well because there's, with that uncertainty of being able to coach it and then actually throwing that athlete out there to do it. So today, just like everything else, I think there's 3 coaching points to make when it comes to shot put. And I'll show you a little bit about an approach, and depending on the ability of your athlete, their approach can change a little bit as well. So the first thing is how I hold the shot put, all right? So if this was a shot put, I don't hold it like in my palm, okay? I want to hold it on the tips of my fingers, okay? I'm going to put my thumb on it, but I should be able to see through that little space there, okay? If it's on the tip of my fingers, I should be able to see that little space, okay? The problem is if you get it up here on the palm of your hand, you're going to naturally find that you're going to have a hard time hanging on to it when you actually go to, it's called a put, to throw it, essentially, okay? So your placement on your hand, it should be on the tips of your fingers. How you hold the shot put, that changes. It's all about comfortability. Some coaches will tell you that their athletes hold it with one finger, okay, and their thumb. It's really resting on one. Some coaches will tell you that it's fine on all. I think that all depends on what makes your athlete comfortable. So that's how I would, first thing I would start when you guys start practicing shot put is teach them how to hold it, okay? Hold it properly. The proper holding of the shot is going to take away a lot of the risk for any safety injury or injuries or anything like that. The next part is how I'm going to place it. So I just happened to be looking through at some pictures that we had. I think it was Peoria that they did it, and there's a couple really good pictures, but then a couple really bad techniques as far as how I saw them they were throwing the shot. And it all started with how they placed it. So everyone knows that I'm supposed to place it somewhere over here for the most part, but where do I do it? The easiest way to start is have your athlete lift it straight up, okay? And then we all have our jawbone. There's a point at my jaw, you can all probably feel it. I want to set the shot right underneath that, okay? The reason I tell you to lift it straight up first is because, one, that's how I was taught, so it's just one thing that I've always done to get comfortable. But then two, I feel like it always naturally progresses to exactly where that point in my jaw is, if I lift it straight up first, okay? How my elbow is placed now, is a no-no, okay? Also, I don't want my elbow too high, because did you notice what happened to the shot when I reached my elbow up this high? I moved it from my jaw, and now it's resting on the side of my face, all right? So my elbow should be placed at a point where I can still feel that shot on my jawbone, okay? So right here, I feel comfortable right now. This is a good spot for me. But again, that point in your jaw is a good, where the athlete is getting ready to throw. That's a good point for you to go. And you can actually reach in there and see if that's resting, if that's sitting underneath that point. So after I figured out how I hold it, after I figure out where to place it, how do I throw it, okay? The easiest way to do this is to practice throwing it, but not in the way that they're actually going to participate in the event. Practice them throwing it straight down, okay? So if we're practicing, my elbow's high, it's still resting on my jaw, but I just shot it down, okay? Have your athletes practice throwing it like this. Because if I'm sitting like this, I can't throw it like a baseball. I can't throw it like a baseball anymore, okay? If I'm sitting rested over, my only action that I can make is through extending my arm. So I have to extend straight down. I'm telling you, this will work wonders if you practice that with your athlete and have them practice throwing it like this. The reason being is, if you start throwing like this right away, you're always going to see elbow down, ball comes or shot comes off, and we see it thrown like this. Not good for your rotator cuff. Your athlete's going to be at a risk for an injury. Okay. So when you're first getting started, rest, bend over at the waist, shot down. Okay. My thumb should finish pointing down. If my thumb finishes like this, that generally means that you just threw it like a baseball. Because for my thumb to finish this way, I'd have to throw it like this. Okay? So when you're first getting started, encourage your athletes when they're practicing to work that technique. Some of your days of practice may just be your athlete doing this. Standing here like this, shotting it down. That may be your practice for one day, especially when you're first getting started. Okay? So that brings us to, I guess, the rules of the actual event. So this is essentially just a divider that allows me to, if I throw my shot well enough, I can rest my foot here on the inside of this our divider here. I'll be DQ'd if I fall over like this, or if I tap the top. Okay, I can't tap the top. But your athlete, if they get momentum going, they can hit this. Like I said, generally what happens if your athlete's really hammering their foot into the bar, they're usually going to fall over. That'll be a DQ. Okay. For approach can change, but I would say 85% of our athletes are going to use a basic step and throw. Okay. I'll do it facing towards you first, and then I'll show you. But once I get placed, okay, most of our athletes, if they're turned like this, that's fine. So if I'm facing the bar, that's fine. Some like to start a little bit forward so they can get a little bit of momentum before they throw. But that all depends on the ability of your athletes. All right, that all depends on what they're feel comfortable doing, and two, what they're able to do. All right. Some athletes will start right here. That's completely fine. They can get good bend with their knees from this point. They can throw from here. That's fine. But other ones, like I said, would like to start back here and then get some momentum going into it first. Okay. Once I throw, when I throw it, I'm going to try to stay when I throw it into the thumb. Okay. My movement's going to come from an extension out, my thumb down. The reason that the way I throw the shot far is not because of my arm strength, it's because of my momentum, my shot, my whole body movement once I get there. Okay? So I'll throw one. This is a softball again. So the wind might blow back. So again, when they start for shot, your athletes will start over here. Let's just for example, they'll always tell them to enter from the back. They'll walk in the back. They'll have their shot in hand. There's generally, sometimes there's a circle. Well, there should be a circle that wraps all the way around that. Because if your athlete were to, for whatever reason, fall out of that circle in the middle of their throw, that's also a DQ. Okay? Once they enter from the back, and get set. Okay? Get some momentum going. Turn your weight back. Okay? Now the most important thing is that, again, hopefully I did a good job. I always can view myself when I watch the videos. But I didn't feel any strain on my shoulder, nothing in my upper back. It's because my movement came from a motion this way. My thumb finished down. Alright? You can't have your athletes starting here, I think it looks good, and then they do this. If the shot put ever works its way off the neck to that point, your athlete is going to end up, they're at risk for an injury to their shoulder. Right? I think that's, you can tell I finished off with, like I pressed a little bit, but your athlete, if they're throwing and they're building their momentum, they may finish off, once I throw, finish off with a little bit of a twist at the end if their momentum's taking them. That's so I don't scratch over the top. Any questions at all about shot put? Okay? Like I said, if you're just introducing your athletes to it, don't just hand them a shot and say, all right, Goes on your neck. Let's see how it works. You practice the drill work first. By doing so, I promise your athlete will get used to shooting down with their thumb down. That way, when they first hop in there, they don't let the shot get off the neck when they start throwing it like a baseball. All right. Men and women have different weights of of the actual shot put or the shot. 7 and 4. They're 6 and 4. Okay. So there is a little bit of a difference as far as what the women throw and the men throw. But if you're introducing a male to it, and this is the first time he's doing it, there's no harm in allowing him to throw the women's to start off. Okay. The men's is a little bit bigger as far as the size of it, and it weighs more. But if he's working good technique with the women's shot, then it'll be a good progression for him to work into the male shot. All right. Any questions at all?